We are at the Sugar Shack of the Hanover-Horton Historical Society with Don White. And Don, it is maple sugar season.
Yes, it is.
You guys have the place fired up, a wood burner. You've got sap coming in, and what do we ended up with?
We're going to end up with maple syrup.
Tell us about how the society got involved in maple.
I retired back in '98, and my dad and mom used to make syrup occasionally. When they run out, they'd make more, and every 6 or 7 years. When I retired, I went down and told Dad I wanted to help him make maple syrup, and we made it 10, 11 years after that, and then he got to be 90-something, and he said he didn't think he wanted to do it anymore.
Now, you actually have put a lot of research and effort into this, and it's got a lot of authenticity to it, even going to Vermont for some of your plans and ideas.
Yes, the Sugar Shack you see behind us is a basic plan that came from Vermont University. I guess University of Vermont, isn't it? And we altered it a little bit to fit our situation here, but it's their basic plan.
And from what I can see, I feel like I'm in Vermont. You guys have you've got it down pat.
Well, we're doing it basically the old way. We got a flat pan, which nobody uses. Anybody does it commercially. They have commercial evaporators that are much more efficient than what this is. The only thing that we're using is reverse osmosis, which takes raw sap from about 3% sugar, and we get it up to 10, 11, maybe 12 with the reverse osmosis. It shortens the time we have to cook, and it's a bunch of old guys here, and we don't like cooking all night.
Do you keep the fire going 24/7?
No, we have, but like I said, we don't have enough volunteers that want to stay up all night and feed a fire.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of volunteers right now going through all the various steps in this process, and it's a lot to it. And we've all heard it takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup, right?
That's basic, yes. Yeah. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more.
It's hard. Kids don't believe that you can get that much sap out of these trees.
We picked up a little less than 1,000 gallons yesterday.
How many trees do you tap?
We tap a little over 600.
And you tap the old-fashioned way and the modern way?
Yes. We have galvanized buckets, and we also, and with the old-fashioned spiles, and then we have the 5-gallon buckets that we put out. We use the old ones mainly to show the kids what we do. Right. They get elementary school comes over here and they go through it, and we got yokes for them to put on and carry the buckets in, and they have a lot of fun.
You ever find a squirrel in a bucket?
Never found a squirrel in a bucket.
So right now, this is being emptied. It's full of sap, and it just got delivered, I think. James just brought a truck full of it.
We can get about 275 gallons in each of those totes.
And it's a limited window when sap's running.
It has to get below freezing and above freezing during the day. Probably the optimum temperatures, if it gets like 24, 26 at night and gets up to maybe 42 in the day, that's the best day you're going to get.
Well, all this wood is fueling this hot fire. Let's go take a look at the boiling sap.
We've been through that pile of wood once. We've restacked that.
It's a lot of chopping, too.
Yes, it is.
All right, Don, that sap that's collected, the tote, it's draining into this. Tell us what's going on here.
We gravity feed it through that hose into there. We're able to adjust the valve so that we evaporate about the same amount we got coming in. We don't have to keep fiddling with it. If we have a really good fire, we can evaporate about 30 gallons of water an hour.
And by that, you mean the evaporation of the sap reduces it down to just the sugar content.
Yes. Yeah. The sap comes out of the tree around 3-4% sugar. We run it through our RO, reverse osmosis, and we can get it 10 to 12% through that. I'm not sure what maple syrup is percentage.
Well, it's different, really, because there's different grades of syrup based on the color.
Based on the color, it's all got the same sugar content, supposedly.
So we've got different sections of this pan. How's it flowing through here? What's going on?
At the end of each one of these sections, we have a gate. I don't know if you can see through there, but the water can come through. As we add it in, the volume coming in there raises the level in this pan.
Okay.
And that pushes it to this pan. And same thing, it goes down through there, it goes through all 7 gates and ends up in the back pan.
Okay. And what's happening as it goes through the pans?
It's getting darker and richer and more flavorful.
And is there different colors that you're shooting for, or what you get is what you get?
Basically, what you get is what you get. The first run usually is the clearest syrup you're going to get. It's kind of a light amber color, and it's really pretty. You get that, we put that in the glass bottles. Later it gets darker, it gets more flavor. I actually prefer the dark syrup to the light. The light looks pretty, but it doesn't have the maple flavor that the darker does.
I agree, I'm with you, and it's odd because it costs less,
Yes.
but it's better.
It is.
Yeah. Now, what about like impurities, and are there filtering, or what's happening?
Okay, there's you see a little foam in here, and it's not real bad right now, but we skim that off. That's an impurity. I don't know what it is,
Okay.
but that keeps some of the steam from coming off. So if you let that build up, then it doesn't evaporate as fast. We filter it when it comes out of those tanks before it goes into there. Then when we draw it off down here, we'll heat it up again. We got a filter over there in the corner, and we run it through that to get everything that's in there. There's what they call sugar sand.
Now, I noticed the Scott boys were dipping donuts into the pan at the end.
They're not supposed to do that.
But it's sweet by the time it's down here.
Yeah, would you like to taste it?
Yeah, sure, yeah. Is it going to burn my tongue?
No.
Oh, yeah. It's maple syrup, all right. What's the temperature of this? Well, 212. It's boiling. But
Yeah,
what's the
it's
temperature of the
boiling,
fire?
And I don't know if it gets hotter than 212 when it boils really hard or not.
Now, I saw you guys are sticking donuts in this. What's going on here?
So you dip it in, then the donut, it's going to taste like maple syrup, make it even sweeter than it is.
Yeah, it's almost too much sweet.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good.
It's the highlight of the year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to wait. How do you know when it's time to turn that spigot on?
This is what they call a hydrometer, and it measures, I think, the density of the thing. It's got 2 lines. This line is for when you measure cold. This line is when you're hot. So when we draw this off, we put there, and it floats to that top line, and we got pure maple syrup.
Now, what happens if you go to a restaurant and order pancakes and they bring out some log cabin?
Well, if you like log cabin, you're in luck.
And you're not, because what I do, and I get criticized by my family, is I bring my own maple syrup to a restaurant. So obviously there's, soot and ashes and wood. There's all kinds of stuff going on here.
Right.
But before it goes into a bottle, what do you do to it?
Okay, we put it in those buckets over there, and they get cold. So then we bring it over and we'll put it in here, and we heat it up to 180 degrees. And then it goes through this filter, and it's got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 filters within it, and then you pump it through hydraulically, and then it comes out and here, and then we collect it in a bucket right down there.
And then at the end of the sugar season, you've got all these bottles of local Hanover-Horton maple syrup. What happens to it?
We sell some of it locally through the hardware store and the bank and different businesses in town. We also use Jerome Country Market. They sell our syrup. They give us a call when they need it and tell us what kind of jugs they want, and we load them up and take them over.
And how many gallons do you end up with in a typical season?
Last year we had a big sales. We sold 160 gallons of maple syrup, and that's big for us.
Yeah. It does show that there's a ton of work, a lot of time, a lot of man hours that go into this.
You have to. We spend probably a week to 10 days out tapping trees and hanging buckets. When we finish, I don't know how many days we spend washing buckets and tubes and spiles and getting them clean, putting them up.
You look forward to doing this every year, Don?
Don't look forward to the cleanup.
Well, this is an awesome project, mission of the Hanover-Horton Area Historical Society. Thanks for all that you do.
Well, thank you. We're always looking for people who'd like to volunteer and have the experience, learn to do it. We have a lot of fun out here.